Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Movie Battleground. I am your host, Jeremy the Adam Adams. Today, it's been a while since I've been here. Been doing a lot of movie trivia stuff here on the Full Metal channel. I haven't been for the movie debates in a while, and I'm excited to be back. And since the last time I hosted, there have been some format changes. We've gone to a 3-host format, which I'm really excited about. So today, we're going to have our 3 judges, and we're going to have 2 competitors who, unfortunately, neither of these guys have a win on the board yet, but that's going to change today for one of them. And I like both these guys a lot. I think they're both really smart guys that love movies, and I'm really excited. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and introduce our other judges. With me today, he's fairly new to things, but he's shown in the trivia leagues how much he knows about movies, and I'm sure he loves movies, is excited about debating and everything else. Caleb Little Boatman, how are you feeling to be here today judging and helping us?
I'm doing great. I've been doing great. I've been judging people all my life, so this is going to be fun to do it for a good reason. But seriously, this is going to be a lot of fun. I know Ryan. He likes to talk a lot, and I don't know Matt too well, but I'm sure he'll be very good. I think this is going to be a really fun match, really good match. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then our other judge today, a good friend of mine. He's been helping me out in the movie leagues, and we've been buddying it up for a while now. But I'm excited to have him here on the judging team. Dan Skip Allen, how are you feeling to be back here today? I know you love movies, and you're always happy to hear people debating and talking movies.
Hey, this is great. This is my third match judging, and I'm starting to get the hang of this. I'll tell you right now, I know one guy here is a BS artist, and he can BS his way to some good answers. So I know that one guy. I'm not going to say who it is, but he's really good at turning something that you might think is like a piece of coal into a diamond. So keep an eye out for just one guy. I'm not going to say who it is.
I might have an inkling. But yeah, no further ado, let's go ahead and talk to these competitors today. They're both 0-1, so I'm just going to pick at random and go first here to our good friend. We know he loves music. We know he's a musician, but I've known him enough to know that he loves movies too. Matthew Rosa, how are you feeling? And do you feel like you can get your first win today, and are you excited to be here?
Man, there's nothing more painful than hearing you say that I don't have a win, because me and Cody was a championship slugfest, and if you didn't watch that match, you owe it to yourself to watch it. It was a war, and I intend to go to war again, and maybe I'm just gonna keep being a bridesmaid, but I intend to put up a good fight, and I intend to just continue to talk about whatever I think is correct and defend it as if it is the only truth.
Absolutely. Well, that's what you do here in Battleground. If you can't back it up, just act like you can at least. And then with no further ado, I'm going to go to our other competitor. I think pretty much everybody in these leagues knows this guy at this point, and I'm not going to set him up too much because I know he likes to talk. Ryan Permison, what are you feeling being here in your second match?
It feels good. Feels good to be here. I think this should be a good match. Before we started in on this thing, Matthew and I were talking about a previous life where we faced off against each other, and it went one way and didn't go mine. But you know what? Past is the past. It's a new year. We're gonna have a lot of fun here. These are very interesting questions, if I may say so myself. So it should be good to dive into these. Look forward to this. We got a good panel of judges. It should be a lot of fun for the viewers to watch at home. So let's do this. Let's get right into this thing.
All right, guys, so no further ado, let's get things started. I will give the rules for the main round here. So basically, again, this is movie debating. You're not answering questions like in a trivia sense. You're just basically given a topic, and you have to duke it out. And basically, we're going to be judging on the facts, the arguments, the counter arguments, creativity a little bit in your answers. And we're going to have the 3 judges, giving basically our thoughts at the end once we hear everything. And it'll be a 2 out of 3 will carry the decision for each argument. So there's going to be 3 questions in the main round. Each player will get 2 minutes for an opening argument, and then we will go into a 5-minute main round where the players will just be going back and forth. And then there'll be a 2-minute closing arguments, and that's for 3 questions in the main round. And then the other little wrinkle is each player gets a 1-minute extension which they can choose at any time. They only get one, though, so it can be for any of the 3 main arguments. And if they decide once we start the 5-minute main round, they have to say before we start, I'm using my extension for this argument. And you can use it. You can opt out of using it. It's all up to the players. All right. So with no further ado, I think we've got the first main round all set up. We'll talk about the speed round later. But yeah, basically whoever gets 3 points today is going to win. So if somebody gets all 3 of the main rounds, they'll get a KO. If not, we will go to those speed round questions. So I will go ahead and proctor the first question here. The first question that you guys are going to be taking on in the first round is, what director should pull a Shyamalan and create their own version of a shared universe based on their past films? And I will just go ahead and start in no particular order. Since I went to Matthew before, I'll go to Ryan this time and go ahead and let Ryan give the first opening argument. I'm putting 2 minutes on the clock. And whenever you're ready, Ryan, we will go ahead and get your opening argument for this topic.
So when you think about directors who are here now in Hollywood and who've made a lot of films over the course of their careers, one of the directors that comes to mind that can pull this thing off of connecting some of their films and making it a shared universe is Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino has made so many films, but there are a few that I would consider to be interconnected in some way, shape, or form. And those would be Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and Jackie Brown. I believe those 3 can be set in the same time period, in the 90s, in their particular time periods, with their characters. They're all about criminals and how they go about committing their crimes or getting away with things, putting together loyalties or having betrayals, what alliances may be formed, what betrayals may go down. So it could be a lot of fun to see. There could be some good action sequences there for good measure. So that is the answer I went with, and that would be Quentin Tarantino.
All right, perfect. And then I will go ahead and go over to Matthew. You'll get up to 2 minutes whenever you're ready for your opening.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a personal journey with Matthew Rosa through American movies. I have chosen Mr. Martin Scorsese, who should connect 3 of his specific films. I believe that you could call them the 70s trilogy. We are going to go Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, Casino, all of which take place in the 70s, featuring similar gangster-type stories. And if you make the argument that Robert De Niro can't play 3 characters, I Raise You, and Orphan Black, and plenty of other movies that exist and television series where people play multiple characters. I think that these movies could fit together so well due to the common going themes of anti-greed and just constantly talking about all these similar concepts and feelings. And you would have Scorsese's vision. He could obviously laser focus into the storylines. He would make the characters flow together. He could make them function together. And I think he could put together a trilogy of films that actually relied on one another. If he got to make a 4th film, he could instantly show you this, and connect all the films instantly. I think because of his knowledge and his world building that he's established throughout his entire career, I mean, heck, he made Christians support The Last Temptation of Christ. A lot of people still enjoy that movie despite their faith, myself included. He has found a way to build a world unlike pretty much any other director out there right now, and I think he could continue to do that with what I would call the 70s trilogy of Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, and Casino. You put those 3 movies together, you make a 4th one that takes place in their shared universe, you have an awesome gangster flick. What a great movie that could be.
All right, perfect. Tarantino and Scorsese. I think those are 2 big names there. I'm excited to see where this is going to go. So I'm going to go and start the 5-minute main argument now. And whenever you guys are ready, feel free to duke it out, and you are up.
Well, let me tell you how Quentin Tarantino's trilogy of films, putting them together, how that would work. Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown. How would Pam Grier interact with the characters of Pulp Fiction, such as Marcellus Wallace, Mia Wallace? What would happen if Mr. Pink, played by Steve Buscemi in Reservoir Dogs, interacted with Vincent and Jules in Pulp Fiction? Specifically at the end of Pulp Fiction when they're sitting in that diner, eating their food, drinking their coffee, just trying to decompress from the very crazy day that they had at work. You have Mr. Pink sitting there with them. Mr. Pink says in Reservoir Dogs he doesn't believe in tipping. Well, if Jules and Vincent want to tip their waitress, how do you think that's gonna go over with Mr. Pink? He's like, wait a minute, tipping's stupid. Why would we want to tip? they would actually tip the waitress, whereas Mr. Pink wouldn't. That's comedic gold right there. That would work. The characters of Reservoir Dogs, some of the characters in Pulp Fiction, hell, the former, Bruce Willis's character interacting with Michael Madsen's character from Reservoir Dogs. How would that go down? Or Jackie Brown walking down the street and she sees a crime being committed by Marcellus Wallace and Mia Wallace is trying to stop him. How would that go down? That would be very, very interesting to see. What alliances, what loyalties could be formed within these three movies? The possibilities are completely endless. And you got all-star cast. You got John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Steve Buscemi, Pam Grier, whole host of others. You got Michael freaking Keaton, for Pete's sake.
Herein lies the problem.
That would be really
with
good
trying
stuff.
to make a Quentin Tarantino trilogy as opposed to the trilogy that would happen naturally with the Taxi Driver, Casino, and Goodfellas films put together. In Taxi Driver, the film is purposely left open. The final scene, he gets annoyed that something's in his rearview mirror. You don't know what it is. Who's to say it isn't the car of Mr. Sam Ace Rosenthal? You immediately can slam together Casino and Taxi Driver. Travis Bickle meeting Sam Rosenthal on that very moment at the end of Taxi Driver gives him a new purpose, a new thing to go into. He becomes a mobster. Then you could link up with the characters of Goodfellas at a later point. Who knows, start a rivalry. And you would have not just an amazing cast of characters with Joe Pesci, Sharon Stone, Robert De Niro, but you could have Robert De Niro blowing people's minds playing 3 lead roles. Do you not think that that is a surefire best actor award waiting to happen? I don't see anyone in a Quentin Tarantino schlock jock film that happens to feature the characters from 3 of his most popular films being as amazing as a Taxi Driver, Casino, Goodfellas mashup would be. It would be best picture material. Your film would be fun to watch, with popcorn and some buddies.
Oh, no, it would be a heck of a lot more than that. You get great character interactions. You get a really interesting pace. You get a great soundtrack. All kinds of songs to be thrown into this trilogy for good measure. And let's say for instance, you start the Tarantino trilogy towards the end of Reservoir Dogs, go right into Pulp Fiction. Jules and Vincent, yeah, they work for Wallace, but then sooner or later they're going to get tired of it. They're going to do their own thing. What if they go ahead and do their own thing and they come across Jackie Brown and her set of characters? And Jackie Brown, she's working for the drug trade, bringing drugs over the border and whatnot. What if Jules and Vincent suddenly decide, well, we're good at being assassins. Why not try to be drug dealers and try to, bring those drugs in and out of the border? If they take on Pam Grier's character, Jackie Brown, and her set of goons, that would be very interesting to see because Jules and Vincent can handle themselves quite well. Whether it's gunplay, punching their enemies, kicking their enemies, or what have you, it would be very, very good to see how that interaction would go down. And to some extent, it would be comedic. Yours it would be too dramatic. There wouldn't be too much levity. Whereas in mine, there would be plenty of humor and plenty of levity because Quentin Tarantino knows how to inject the right amount of drama along with the right amount of comedy to entertain audiences all over the globe for good measure, especially with his eclectic cast from all different nationalities, all different backgrounds with their characters that they're portraying and all that good stuff. It would really go down pretty well. Heck, it could win a couple of Oscars if this actually did and would come to fruition.
Think that Martin Scorsese's goal was ever to make people laugh. His goal has always been to make people feel, to invoke emotion. And I think if you connected the characters of Taxi Driver, Casino, and Goodfellas, you could have those movies connect and people wouldn't have necessarily had to have even seen those prior films before seeing this one, and they still would feel the emotions of these characters. It could be better
30-second warning, guys.
I feel like you would be entirely reliable on a Quentin Tarantino trilogy movie. You would have to have seen all the past movies. And I don't think that would be necessary for a Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, Casino movie because it would just be a solid mobster flick with the amazing work of Robert De Niro in multiple roles. You could have Sharon Stone. You could have all these amazing actors and actresses, just like in your film, but it would be a little bit more artsy. I think you would have the more superior directing of Martin Scorsese, although we could debate that all day long. I think you would have the music scores taken from each individual film, including the final score by Bernard Herrmann.
I got to cut you off there. That's 5 minutes, Matthew.
No problem.
All right. So we will go into our closing arguments. Again, you get up to 2 minutes for each person. And since Ryan started the opening arguments, we'll go to Matthew first to do the closing, and then we'll go to Ryan second.
I think if you establish a trilogy of the 70s films that all take place in the 70s by Martin Scorsese, Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, and Casino, you will have established a world in which these mobsters can exist, they can flourish, they can fight, they can argue. Any sort of different decisions you could make, you would have an amazing performance by Robert De Niro, which I want to hammer in. He would play multiple roles, and he could do it to perfection. He's Robert De Niro. At the end of the day, the problem with putting on a Quentin Tarantino trilogy is I think you would be reliant on having seen the older films and loving them. I don't think there is any reliance on seeing Taxi Driver, Casino, or Goodfellas for a movie that combines the three of them to work. You could see that movie tomorrow, having never seen the other films, and still step into that theater, enjoy your time, enjoy everything you saw. You would have the amazing soundtrack because you could take pieces of the score from the other films. You would have Bernard Herrmann's final and arguably greatest work that he did for Taxi Driver. You would have an unbelievable score. You'd have unbelievable support. You could throw in as many actors as you need. You have Ray Liotta, you have Robert De Niro, you have Joe Pesci, you have everyone that you could possibly desire. And I think wholeheartedly you will have made yourselves the ultimate 70s mobster flick. You're ready to go toe-to-toe with The Godfather. Martin Scorsese could do that with this film. I think he would make a better series, a better conjoined film, a film that didn't feel disjointed, it didn't feel forced. It would be a natural fit for these characters and these stories to mesh together. And all you got to do is break the main character of Goodfellas out of prison, and you got yourself a story.
All right. And then whenever you're ready, Ryan, your closing argument.
With Quentin Tarantino and with any film, it's good to have a balance. Not just with the drama, but also with a little bit with some levity and some comedy. With Quentin Tarantino's trilogy of Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and Jackie Brown, you're going to get that, and you're going to get it in spades. And you don't just have one actor in this movie that's carrying all three films. No. You have an incredible cast of characters. Everybody from Steve Buscemi, Ving Rhames, Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson, John Travolta, Uma Thurman, a whole host of characters. You got Pam Grier, Michael Keaton. The list goes on and on and on. This is about the criminal underworld and how these criminals go about their daily lives, as well as how they commit crimes to make their ends meet and to make their money. To see the characters of Pulp Fiction interact with the characters of Jackie Brown and the characters of Reservoir Dogs, that would be incredible. Incredible talent, great director. It has awards buzz written all over it. A great cast with a incredible character-driven piece, and also you get drama and the comedy. You have some good action scenes, some good comedy, really good interactions with the criminal underworld. How would they interact? How would it go down? What loyalties could be made? What betrayals would happen? Who's gonna go for who? Which criminal enterprise is going to come out on top in the end? That is the best thing about a Quentin Tarantino trilogy, and that's why it would work. Your trilogy, you keep mentioning De Niro. That's one person. One person. In the Quentin Tarantino trilogy, there are 30 to 40 different actors that are throughout these films and that can carry the film just as well as one actor. They do it very well as a group, as a team. That's why a Quentin Tarantino trilogy would work best, more so than a Scorsese trilogy. Criminal Underworld being set in the 90s with all three of these films, you don't necessarily need to see one before the other. You can walk into any of these films and still enjoy the heck out of them, and there'll be nods and references to previous things that may have happened in the other films so that you're not caught off guard, or if the audience isn't confused. That's why a Tarantino trilogy works more so than Scorsese. All
right, that is the time there. So passionate arguments from both players there. This is an awesome way to start the match today. You know, I got to say I love both these directors. So hearing, just in my head, ideas of a movie set in these universes from both of these directors was really exciting, and both these guys really nailed that. But we do have to make a decision. We do have to judge these arguments, and I will go ahead and start throwing him into the fire here with Caleb first. If you need to take a minute here, as long as you need, and then tell us where you would weigh in on this and give us the first vote of the three that we're gonna have.
Yeah, I think I got my vote. So yeah, I think they both had really good arguments here. They both really showed gave a good idea of what their movies would be like. But I do think that Matthew hit Ryan a little harder with some of the arguments there. I do think that he brought up some things about the more Oscar-worthy nature of the Scorsese movie, and I think that there were just some things about like the more popcorny nature of the Tarantino and Scorsese's being better, and the more references where it feels like the Tarantino movie you need to be a little more caught up on. So I think I'm going to give it to Matt for Scorsese.
Okay, so that's 1 point for Matt. We'll go to Dan next. Again, it is 2 out of 3, so we'll see where this goes. Dan, where do you think you fall after hearing all of that?
All right, so on my notes, obviously, we got Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown. We got alliances. We got tipping. We got crime sprees. We got all kinds of different things tying these characters together in their worlds from Ryan. And from Matthew, we got Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, Casino, Anti-Greed, good acting performances. The first 2 films would take place first, then you'd somehow would fit them into Goodfellas. You'd slam them in there. I honestly think that what Ryan told me, how he would interweave Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and Jackie Brown together, and how many different characters you wouldn't need the same actor to play all these play 3 different characters. I think, I'll be honest with you, I would love to see a 3-film trilogy of what Ryan described of Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and Jackie Brown, because I think the crime and all the different idiosyncrasies within just Pulp Fiction is incredible. But if you can tie that to Jackie Brown and Reservoir Dogs, I think you got something there with Quentin Tarantino. And on the other hand, Matthew, Matthew, I think what you were trying to go for, he had a good idea at heart. But I think if you would have said Mean Streets instead of Taxi Driver, you would have had me. You would have had me with your arguments of how to tie this gangster world together within the city of New York and so forth, in Las Vegas and stuff like that. But Taxi Driver, to me, doesn't fit with Casino and Goodfellas, and I think your argument falls short because of that. And I'm going to give my point to Ryan.
All right, so it is a tie, which means it all falls down on me here. And this is a tough one. I thought this was a really, really close one. And I've been kind of just weighing it all in my head as I've been hearing everything. And basically what it comes down to is, both these guys are taking 3 great movies from 2 different eras. They're taking these movies from the 90s for Ryan with Quentin Tarantino, and we're seeing all these characters interacting and doing crime hijinks. And then for Matthew, he did very wisely at the beginning say it was all those were set in the 70s, just to even Goodfellas and Casino all set in the 70s. So theoretically, all these characters could be interacting in that time period. That was something that he did make clear. I feel like you've got 2 really good visions from both of these guys on this. I was just kind of contemplating in my head, like, what are we going to be getting out of this exercise, out of seeing these 3 great films? Now we're doing a 4th, and those characters are going to start interacting. Like, what are we getting from this? What is the point of this? And I feel like if, you're going to do this, you're going to want to make it really count and really make it mean something. And I feel like what I got from Ryan was it'd be really cool to see these characters interact, but it almost felt a little fan fiction-y to me. Like, we're just going to take all these cool characters, have them interact, have some fun scenes. I didn't really get the vision quite as much, whereas with Matthew, it's the 70s, it's crime, it's all of this stuff and immorality going on, and we're going to take these great characters, and we're going to have their stories that were left open-ended in some cases, carry on, and we're going to go somewhere to tell a story with these characters that actually, in the Scorsese mold is going to kind of mean something and have an impact. And I do think the idea of Travis Bickle, where is he going to go at the end of that movie if he's still out there, that he could be brought into this crime world, and that you could see these great characters that De Niro played, and all the other, they both made great points about there's a lot of great actors in both of these universes. But yeah, we have De Niro anchoring it, but he did mention we got all these other great actors, Joe Pesci, all of these people that can play into it as well. And I just got, by the narrowest of margins, a little bit more of meat from Matthew on this. Although as much fun as it would be to see all those Tarantino scenes, I thought like I saw a little more of a movie and of a point with Matthew. So very marginally going to give Matthew the point, and he will get that first argument. But great effort from both guys, and who knows where it's going to go in the next one here. This is exciting stuff. Takes me back to my days when we had these battles, when I was still playing. All right, so regroup a little bit here and get into the second argument, and I think this one might be a little lighter. We kind of lighten things up a little bit. I chuckled a little bit when I saw this on the docket, and the second argument is, which actor from the Hangover trilogy would you want to see recast with Tommy Wiseau? Tommy Wiseau, you might know from The Room. He was played by James Franco in The Disaster Artist. Interesting fellow. And we are asking that it is the main Wolfpack guys, not. I believe that's what we said. All right, so
because I tried to say chow.
Yeah. All right, so we'll go ahead and start this time. Since Ryan started last time, we'll start with Matthew and go into our 2-minute opening. And we're up whenever you're ready to do your opening argument, Matthew.
All right. So when I think of a Hangover series that is going to be featuring Tommy Wiseau, I want Tommy Wiseau to be my star. It is shown that when Tommy Wiseau is placed into tertiary positions in films, he loses his charm to an extent. When he becomes a side character, it becomes less interesting. But when you place Tommy Wiseau front row and center and remove Bradley Cooper and recast Mr. Wiseau as Phil Wennick, the teacher, and just imagine the hijinks in the later Hangover films where you could see him in the classroom. But you see Tommy Wiseau take his place as the leader of the Wolfpack. Ed Helms and Zach Galifianakis having to play along with Tommy Wiseau's wacky antics, and you would have these other actors putting in these solid performances while Tommy Wiseau with his American accent coming through and putting on a phenomenal performance like only Tommy Wiseau could. I would want to sit down and watch that movie more than I want to sit down and revisit these Hangover movies. I would immediately be interested in seeing Bradley Cooper take a step off so that Mr. Tommy Wiseau could step up, take over, and become the definitive leader of the Hangover trilogy.
All right. Next we go to Ryan whenever you're ready.
Very interesting question surrounding a very interesting person in Tommy Wiseau. He may be a few rings short of Saturn. He may not be the sharpest knife in the drawer, but you know what? He has passion. He likes to be the life of the party. He likes to be the center of attention. So why not give him that? With this, in the Hangover trilogy, I chose him to replace the character, to be the character of Alan, and take out Zach Galifianakis, put in Tommy Wiseau, and what do you get? You get comedy gold. Why is comedy gold? Well, it's quite simple. Alan says the most weirdest, oddball things. He will ask the most random questions. He will interact with you in the most bizarre way. Get it? He means well, but it doesn't always come across it in the right way. He may try to say something that may not just come across, correctly. So with that, I went with Tommy Wiseau replacing Zach Galifianakis as Alan. I got more on this, but I will make it in the main argument. Back to you in the studio.
All right. Okay, guys, putting 5 minutes on the docket here. I'm pretty excited to see how this is going to go. This is going to be fun, and whenever you guys are ready, battle it out.
What makes Tommy Wiseau inspiring and interesting is the fact that he is not purposely being funny. He is actively trying to put in a good performance. And I think with the character of Alan Garner, you will have lost the charm of what makes Tommy Wiseau Tommy Wiseau. He's trying his best, because with a movie like Best Fiends, where we saw him try to be funny, he wasn't funny. He immediately lost his charm. Same with the television series that he had on a while ago. When he would be playing Phil, he would technically be the straight man of the Wolfpack. So you would have Tommy Wiseau still trying, which would then inherently be funny. You're not writing things for Tommy Wiseau to say in a funny voice.
Yeah, well, let me put it to you this way: if he play with he playing the character of Alan, he does like Alan's character. He wants to be friends with everyone around him. He wants to be nice. He wants to be cool. He will say whatever's on his mind. He doesn't care who's in the room, what's going on. He will say it no matter what. Tommy Wiseau, whether he's drunk or sober, it doesn't matter. He's still the same exact person. He's passionate. He wants everyone to like him. He wants everyone to believe in him and what he's trying to do. With him trying to put the wolf pack together, because Phil's character and the other characters in the wolf pack, they know how to have fun, but they have fun in a bit more of a sensible way, whereas Alan just doesn't care. He will barge into somebody's house and steal that tiger from Mike Tyson, drunk or sober. It doesn't matter. He will go for it. And also, you got to remember, Alan will do whatever it takes. And Tommy Wiseau, in his case, he will do whatever it takes to form this wolf pack and to make sure that his friends are having a good time. Even if he has to have sex with an animal or another woman he's never met before, he will do it. It doesn't matter. He doesn't care if he gets arrested. He doesn't care about the consequences of his actions. He just wants to have fun and have a grand old time. That is Tommy Wiseau, and that is why he is more perfect to play more so the character of Alan than the guy Phil. Tommy Wiseau as a teacher, not going to happen. Alan as an unemployed someone who's in between jobs, just trying to make his way through life by taking it day by day. That's Tommy Wiseau in a nutshell, and that's why it would work a heck of a lot better than him playing Phil, Stu, or even freaking Doug, who gets left on the freaking roof.
The entire problem with the concept of having Tommy Wiseau play Alan, you just explained all the reasons that Alan is funny and he's goofy and he's wild. Yes, and Zach Galifianakis does it perfectly. But the problem is Tommy Wiseau would try to be funny, and in that, he would lose his ability to be funny. There is so much anecdotal evidence to prove this fact. Look at all of his other roles where he's been cast to be funny. Look at him on Tim and Eric, where he wasn't funny. He's not funny when he's told to be funny. He's only funny when he's actively trying to put in a good performance. So if he was actively trying to put in a good performance as Phil, then gets attacked by a tiger, which happens in the first Hangover film, you could naturally have Tommy Wiseau over-dramatizing that. He plays it up because he thinks it's his big Hamlet moment. He is treating it like he is going to win the Academy Award for his performance as Phil Wennick, when in reality, everyone else is laughing at him. Tommy Wiseau, as terrible as it sounds, we laugh at him. We don't laugh with him. He doesn't do funny things. He does funny things. He does not perform as a funny person. He would not be funny in the role of Alan because he would just be doing things that were written for him to do. What made his performance in The Room so exceptionally funny was he was doing things that he had written for himself to do, and in most cases hadn't written at all.
Yeah, but if he plays Alan, he would maybe listen to the director's directions for like 2 seconds, and then all of a sudden he would just turn into his regular weird, crazy Tommy Wiseau self. He would say, yes, I am playing the character of Alan. You gave me direction. With him, when he hears someone's directions, it goes in one ear, out the other. Tommy Wiseau does what Tommy Wiseau wants to do. He wants to act. He thinks he's putting on a great acting performance. When all around him and when reality sinks in, even though with him there really is no reality because he's off his rocker, he is going to play Alan the way he wants to play Alan, and that is just having a good time, taking his friends out to a bar, taking his friends out to a casino, a strip club, what have you, whatever. It's Las Vegas. You put Tommy Wiseau as Alan in Las Vegas, the possibilities are definitely endless. He will go from one end of the strip to the next. He will go into the desert if he has to make sure that his buddies are having a good time, or maybe he heard that Doug was missing and they took him out somewhere towards the desert. He will go there even if that's not where Doug actually ended up towards the end of the original Hangover film. That's the thing. He doesn't really care about responsibility. He doesn't care about anything else. He just wants to have fun the way Alan, the character, even though it may be written the way Tommy Wiseau wants to have fun. Tommy Wiseau is going to do
that's going to be
what
the
he
5
wants to
minutes.
do, whatever.
Gotcha. All right, that's the 5-minute main round. All right, and then we will go to closing arguments. And so Matthew started, so Ryan will start with your closing argument first.
You chose Phil, the more sensible and more understanding of the group. With the character I chose for Tommy Wiseau to replace, he plays Alan. It's tailor-made for him. It's tailor-made. He was born to play Alan, the guy who has no common sense, who has to be reminded by the other members of the Wolfpack that he needs to put on a pair of pants because Phil's going to feel weird for having to ask him twice. that is what you get. You get comedy gold. You get a character that Tommy Wiseau was born to play in Alan in the Hangover trilogy. He does whatever it takes to make sure that his friends, or his supposed friends anyway, he likes to call these people his friends, even though they may not want to be friends with him necessarily, his friends, and he will go to bat for them. He'll do whatever it takes to make sure that they are happy, that they're having a good time. But he's going to do it the way Tommy Wiseau as Alan would want to do it, not what the director wants Alan to be. Tommy Wiseau does what Tommy Wiseau does. He doesn't care what other people think, no matter how many pieces of good advice they may give him. He's going to do it the way he wants to, and that is why he is much better suited to play the character of Alan than your character of Phil, who is the more sensible and a bit more understanding and knows the difference between a little bit more so of right and wrong and when to put on enough clothes so that you're not naked in front of a group of people. That is why he is born to play Alan, not Phil, with Tommy Wiseau playing that character in the Hangover trilogy.
All right, you're up with your closing, Matthew.
The inherent problem with having Tommy Wiseau play Alan is one that you never truly responded to. The problem with telling Tommy Wiseau to be funny is that consistently, when he is told to be funny, he is not funny. I will keep repeating it because it is still true and it hasn't been addressed. Tommy Wiseau is consistently only funny when he is placed into positions where he thinks he is going to be a serious, respected actor. He is comical in the room because he has written himself into a position where everyone loves him. He is the man. He's killing it. He's got a great job. Everyone loves him. Why would anyone treat him poorly? And if he's in the position where he's a teacher, he's doing all right for himself, he's the leader of the wolf pack, he's got himself figured out, he's still going to bring out that classic Tommy Wiseau antics, and you could play that off the already amazing performance by Zach Galifianakis as Alan. You don't need Wiseau to take over the best part of that movie. You can add him and make him another great part of that movie, or those movies if you want to talk about 2 and 3, but no one really does. But you can already immediately make the movie better rather than just swapping out something good for something average, or swapping out something good for something maybe as good. Maybe if we predict that Tommy Wiseau can learn to follow directions to the ability at which he will be able to perform the character of Alan the way he is written. But what we're looking forward to if he plays Phil is that he could be distinctly playing a character that he isn't supposed to be playing. He isn't playing it as it's written. And that's exactly what we want from a Tommy Wiseau performance. He could turn this from a great comedy to one of the greatest comedies, because he would be in the position where he's supposed to be the straight man. There is no straight man anymore. Everyone is losing their minds. You have found the pure chaos that The Hangover is supposed to be. Is my time almost up? Because if so, I'm taking my extension.
It is. Oh, you have to say it at the beginning, though. I'm sorry.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, it's during the main round.
It's cool.
Yeah, at the beginning of
I didn't know how it
5-minute
worked.
round. Yeah, at the beginning of the 5-minute round. So that will bring us to the end for these arguments. So that was fun. Definitely some good points from both guys. And I will go ahead, and since I went last time, I will go first this time. This was a tough one. Both guys came out of the gate with some good arguments. The point that Matthew was making that, Tommy Wiseau is not really a good actor. So if you try to tell him to do something, he's just going to fall flat. So you want to take that into effect. That was a great argument. And it was something that, Ryan didn't directly address, as Matthew said, when he was making his argument. But the point that I think Ryan was making was, you take Tommy Wiseau, you're looking at these three characters, you're looking at the three guys in the Hangover trio. Where do you want to place? You're going to take somebody out. Where do you want to place Tommy Wiseau? And I think putting him in Zach Galifianakis' spot and having him be the wild card, the crazy guy, the weird one, we know that that's what our expectation is. Our expectation is that Tommy Wiseau is a weirdo and a freak And I just think that the dynamic would probably work better there with him in that role, even though it could fall flat, but I think if you put him in Bradley Cooper's role, and then you've got Tommy Wiseau and you've got Zach Galifianakis, and they're both being weird, I just feel like I can kind of conceptualize better him in the Galifianakis spot. And I think that Ryan, though he didn't do it directly, he did kind of put that in my head in the right way of this is how this is going to work. He's going to be the guy taking off his shirt. He's going to be the guy jumping on the tiger. He's going to be doing those things, and I just conceptually could see that. Even though Matthew's point was very strong and was well taken by the narrowest of margins, I think Ryan got me just by the passion of his argument and helping me see Tommy Wiseau in that role. And even though he could have been a little sharper with it, I think he kind of did respond to that point of he will be that guy. He is that guy. He embodies that character, and he will fit into that 3-person slot the best there. So I very narrow. Really, I'm going to give this one to Ryan. So next, we will go to Dan and get Dan's opinion on this argument.
All right, so what I got is Ryan has chose Tommy Wiseau to replace Zach Galifianakis. He would be the life of the party, an oddball, weird. He'll say whatever he wants. He's passionate, and he tries to get people to go along with what he's saying. And Matthew got Tommy Wiseau replacing Bradley Cooper. He could be the straight man. They don't need to write any lines for him because as a straight man, he's already going to be funny because of who Tommy Wiseau is. He won't need to have a funny nature because he's already funny. He's naturally funny as being like the straight man. Ryan said, it'll be a good time with Zach Galifianakis gone and Tommy Wiseau replacing him. I actually have to agree with almost word for word what Jeremy said. Matthew almost had me with his argument, but I just believe that if you put Tommy Wiseau in place of Zach Galifianakis and you have one halfway straight guy, one straight guy, one crazy guy, you have that kind of 3-man dynamic again. And that's what Ryan was trying to say. And all kinds of craziness will ensue. And so I think Tommy Wiseau, in a different way, but very similar to Zach Galifianakis, is what Ryan was saying, would be a third wheel to that, and all kinds of craziness can ensue the way he's saying. Matthew, you almost had me. I almost was going to give you my point based on your arguments, but I'm actually going to go exactly the way Jeremy did on this one. I'm going to go with Ryan.
Okay, so that will give Ryan the point because it is the 2-person vote there. I will go to Caleb, though, and see what your thoughts would have been on this one.
I actually would have gone Matt, surprisingly. Yeah. I think that argument about Tommy's charm, losing his charm when he's trying to be funny, really hit Ryan really hard. But I do think Ryan made some good points about Tommy kind of being suited to Alan's character. So really good arguments all around.
All right, so that's interesting. We got a tie game now going into this last question. So we definitely are going to go to the speed round today, which is exciting. And I will go ahead and tell you what the last question in the main argument is. And of course, we like to get geeky here. We like to, after talking about all the other movies, throw in the geeky topic sometimes. And the third question is, what movie from the Star Wars saga should have never been made? This is going to be an interesting one. I think there's quite a few ways you could go, and I'm definitely going to be looking for some solid arguments on this to explain, how you can take a movie out and how that would help the saga. So we started with Matthew last time, so we're going to jump back to Ryan and have Ryan start giving his up to 2 minute opening argument on the Star Wars topic. Whenever you're ready, Ryan.
All right. When it comes to the Star Wars saga, there are definitely a couple of films that shouldn't exist, shouldn't have happened, really don't count, at least in my eyes. But the one I went with which one should never have been made, it's gotta be. There's no other answer for this question. It's Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. That is one of the most abysmal, terribly written, horribly acted films in cinematic history. It is certainly certainly the worst episode within the prequel trilogy of Star Wars. Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Terrible writing, terrible directing, whole bunch of other reasons why this film is so bad. It never should have been made and never should have been part of the Star Wars saga. But I'll give you more of those points in just a bit. Back to you at the desk.
Okay, and we will go to Matthew whenever you're ready.
I have a very distinct and strange opinion, and that opinion is that there are no Star Wars films that are bad. I don't think there's ever been a Star Wars film, the Star Wars saga, that is not good. I think they've all been acceptable in their own way, and I think they've all been good to an extent. So I decided to look at the question in the way that it was worded. Which film should have never been made? And I think the film that should have never been made, theoretically, that you could take out, is The Phantom Menace. It has the least consequential moments to the Star Wars saga and to the story of Star Wars as a whole. If you were to remove The Phantom Menace, you've lost very little. You've lost the ideals of the character of Qui-Gon Jinn, which are barely touched upon in the later films. You would lose the story of Darth Maul, which is barely touched upon until the Clone Wars animated series. You would lose the ideals of Anakin being a farm boy, which you see in the later films. I think the biggest thing is you could take out The Phantom Menace due to the fact that you would lose the least story developing elements by removing The Phantom Menace as opposed to any other film in the Star Wars saga.
All right, interesting. Not a
Now
shock
can I
that-
scream extension?
Yeah, this is where you use it. So it's now going to be 6 minutes in the main round. There you go, Matthew. And yeah, I was just going to say, I don't think it's any surprise that when we're taking movies out, they both took out prequels. But all right, I will put 6 minutes on the board and duke it out, guys.
Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Let's look at the facts. Horrible writing, horrible directing, plot lines that are really dumb and stupid, and you don't even have to worry about them. If episode 2 is taken out, you can clearly go into episode 3 and connect the dots. A 2-year-old could connect the dots of what's going on in episode 3 without having to see episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Why? Troopers working with Jedis. You got Padme and Anakin are lovey-dovey. They're all loving each other, trying to make babies. All that garbage, all that nonsense, all that stiff, pathetic love story. You can connect it so easily. It doesn't take a genius to understand what's going on in this prequel trilogy. With episode 2, the pacing is terrible. The plot lines go nowhere. There's really no payoff. There's no memorable line or scene or even comprehensible moment in episode 2 that fans are saying, oh, this film was so good because that moment right there and this moment right here and this moment right there, it adds nothing to the legacy of Star Wars. It puts a stain on it. It makes it terrible. It makes it bad. That is why episode 2 needs to be removed from the equation so you never have to see it, never have to think about it, never have to worry about what's going on with these characters or where they're going in the next one. The only remotely entertaining piece of film in episode 2 is the battle on Geonosis and the Jedis battling the soldiers on Geonosis. That's the only good thing about that film. 99% of it is terrible, horribly written, horribly acted, horribly produced, garbage. Even the CGI is terrible.
Possibly care less as to whether or not the Attack of the Clones is a bad film. That wasn't the question. The question was not what is the worst Star Wars movie. If you want to debate that it's Attack of the Clones, that's fine. We can debate that all night long. We can talk all night long about that after the match. But right now the question is, which shouldn't have been made? And I think if one of them could have not been made, it's The Phantom Menace. Because let's count what you would lose if you take out Attack of the Clones. I know your machismo doesn't like it, but at the end of the day, Padme and Anakin's love story is pivotal to the reasoning as to why he turns to the dark side. You remove Attack of the Clones, and they are nothing more than like a 14-year-old and a 9-year-old making sly little comments on the desert. in The Phantom Menace. You would also lose the entirety of Boba Fett's backstory. So we would have no understanding as to who this bounty hunter is and why he is so negative and anti-Jedi, despite the fact that he's just supposed to be some sort of programmed drone. You would also lose the entirety of the bonding that we see between Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi and Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker. It develops their brotherhood so that in the third film, when he screams, "We were brothers," you have seen that. Whether or not you like the film, or you think that it's boring, or you think that it's paced slowly, sure it is, but it was all building to the third film. The first film has a bunch of inconsequential schlock, and at the end of the day, it could not be made, and you would still have the Star Wars saga in the way it was intended. If you take out Attack of the Clones, you lose a line from the original trilogy. "Your father, he fought in the Clone Wars." That would be inconsequential because the Clone Wars aren't happening in Phantom Menace, and they're essentially over in Revenge of the Sith.
If you take out episode 2, it, like I said before, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what's going on in episode 3. You can easily figure out what the battle is, why they're doing it, the reasoning behind it, how we got there. It's all in the opening crawl of Revenge of the Sith. With your argument in the Phantom Menace, you were first introduced to Anakin. That is pivotal. That is extremely pivotal. Whereas in episode 2, it fast forwards 10 years later. Big freaking deal. We all know that time passes. We all know that people evolve and grow and change over the course of their lives and over time. You take out episode 2, don't need it. Absolutely don't need it. You can go straight into the other episodes knowing exactly what's going on, exactly how we got there, what the reasoning is behind the characters' relationships, how they develop those friendships, and where they're going to go down the line in future films. You bring up the line where he says, "Well, your father was great in the Clone Wars." Well, sometimes some things are better left not being relived. You know, when he says the Clone Wars, it's like, okay, all right, Clone Wars. He fought in the Clone Wars. Okay, that's interesting. All right, you can move on. Don't need to worry about Attack of the Clones. Don't need to worry about anything that happens in that film. It's definitely the film within the overall saga that never should have been made. It's not pivotal. It's not important. Doesn't need to be there whatsoever. 1 and 3, you're fine. You can move on to much, much greater and much better films that came earlier in the saga and a little bit later down the saga. In between with the prequels, give me a break. Episode 2, don't need it.
To immediately raise your point back to you, you're arguing that everything that happened in Attack of the Clones you can see in the opening crawl of Revenge of the Sith. The same is true with The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. I think it's completely irrelevant to bring up the opening crawls because at that point we would be arguing to a moot point because we could just say, you can remove any of them because theoretically you're still going to get the story from the past one. That's fine. That's correct. Yes, do you feel powerful? At the end of the day, Attack of the Clones, we would lose the true development of the emotion and the love between Anakin and Padme, as gross and poorly written as it may be. It is pivotal to understanding why he is so passionate about Padme, why the first thing he thinks of after waking up from a lava baptism by fire is, where's Padme? Where's Padme? He loves her truly because he got to love her truly. Also, you take out Attack of the Clones, we don't see Delegate Jar Jar Binks. Therefore, we never see Jar Jar Binks ascended to the Senate, in which case he could then place the Emperor into a place of power. So then you don't even have an original trilogy.
All right, that's
you
going to
wouldn't
be
have the Emperor.
6 minutes there, guys. Whew, there was some passion on that one. I love it when we get into these topics. But all right, Ryan did go first, so we do stay with Matthew. Matthew will be giving his closing argument first here.
At the end of the day, if we were to remove Attack of the Clones, you would lose pivotal parts of the Star Wars saga. The Star Wars saga is reliant on moments that happen in Attack of the Clones. Padme and Anakin developing a relationship is entirely important. But all of the scenes that happen in The Phantom Menace become irrelevant in the 2 later prequel films. You think that Qui-Gon Jinn matters, he doesn't. They don't bring him up hardly ever again. You think Darth Maul matters, he doesn't. They hardly bring him up ever again, and you would still have the canonical Clone Wars series if you wanted to establish him as a villain in that. At the end of the day, you lose The Phantom Menace, you lose nothing. You lose the Attack of the Clones, you lose Vader's motivation. You don't understand why Darth Vader has the feelings that he does. Darth Vader doesn't even have the basis to which he can establish the Skywalker bloodline and eventually descend Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker. because he never fell in love with Padme. He was just some creep in the desert making sly remarks towards her. And if we were to skip 20 years into the future and see them married, it would be jarring and it would be unearned, but it feels earned. Same with the relationship between Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen's characters. We see them develop that bond throughout the course of Attack of the Clones. That bond is not developed throughout The Phantom Menace because Ewan McGregor's character barely interacts with Anakin, because the whole point was Liam Neeson's character interacting with Hayden Christensen. Qui-Gon Jinn and Anakin were developing a relationship that then wasn't allowed to continue. So I think if you lose Attack of the Clones, you have lost the Star Wars saga and all of its motivations. You lose The Phantom Menace, you've lost nothing more than some inconsequential backstory.
All right. And I will just say, I think Matthew misspoke. It was Jake Lloyd in the first one, but we got.
Sorry, Jake Lloyd. Yeah.
Everybody forgets him. All right, and you're
I
up
don't.
with your closing argument, Ryan.
You need episode 1 to give you the origin story of what the deal was with Anakin in the beginning. You get to see some incredible scenes in the Phantom Menace with the pod racing, the lightsaber duel between Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, Darth Maul. You get a good enemy, a fresh enemy of the dark side, something we've never seen before in a Star Wars movie. Those scenes and those moments and those character moments with Obi-Wan Kenobi establishing his relationship with Anakin is pivotal. If you lose that, if you take that out, that is a big loss. And that is something that every audience member of the Star Wars saga needs to see. With episode 2, every saga has a beginning. The beginning in this case is a heck of a lot more important than the middle, because Attack of the Clones, you don't need it. You can go straight into episode 3. You get it. You know where those characters are going. You know where it's going to lead to, because it's all about how Anakin turns to the dark side and becomes Darth Vader. You get that in episode 3. Episode 2, you get nothing but filler. It's nothing but filler. It doesn't really add anything really, really all that important and worthy of being part of the Star Wars legacy to the story. In my eyes, that is why you can take out episode 2, forget about it. It never should have happened, never should have been made. Keep episode 1, keep episode 3 if you want, but don't include episode 2 in the Star Wars saga. It never should have been made. There are many, many reasons why episode 2 should not be involved, whereas episode 1 should be. And that is why, of all the films in the Star Wars saga that never should have been made, episode 2, Attack of the Clones, is clearly the right and the only good answer to this question. Your Honor, I rest. Back to you in the studio.
All right, that was a good one. I think getting that extra minute there made it even more epic for these guys to battle that out. But let's go to our judges. Let's get the final verdict and see where we're going to stand going into that speed round. Somebody will be in the lead, and then the other person will have to make it up. I think it'll work best if we go back and start with Caleb again this time. So what are your thoughts on this argument?
Again, both of them making really good points here. I think both of them really kind of gave good arguments as to why their film wasn't consequential to the actual story. I think both of them really hit on that hard. I think they both made good arguments for really being able to skip them and understanding the story. So I think they both kind of matched each other point for point on that one. So then it just comes down to what else to make. And I think Ryan really made the better points here for not only episode 2 being inconsequential, it is also a very bad movie. So I think Ryan just hit Attack of the Clones on more angles. So I think I'm going to give it to Ryan.
All right, I will go second here. I agree with Caleb. They both of you guys made excellent points, and both of you, I agree, we're kind of tied when it came to both movies. You know, you both made arguments about how they're not very consequential. They're things that can be skipped in both films, and I was sold by both guys, and I was certainly sold by Ryan's passion of what a bad movie Attack of the Clones is. I think he didn't have to convince me very much, but he certainly convinced me even more with all of the points that he made there. So it was a bit of a tie in my mind, but when I came to who really got it, who made the better point here, I kind of went to a different place, which was, okay, where are we in the third movie? Because we're keeping the third movie. We got to get to that third film. We've got to get to the point where Anakin becomes Darth Vader and everything that happens, and everything is going to set up the original trilogy, and we're going to get to Luke Skywalker and everything. And I think Matthew actually made the better points here with, we see in the second film everything that happens to him, really, that puts him on that journey. The things that happened to him when you were a little kid 10 years ago are, his relationship with Qui-Gon, which is really the main point of that movie, were not quite as consequential in terms of that final turn. Everything that happens in that second movie really is consequential, whether or not you like the movie. And you sold me. I don't like that movie, but I have to, acknowledge that those events were directly linking in, him, going rogue and attacking the Tusken Raiders on the planet, his relationship with Padme and how he gets kind of turned around, the seeds of his relationship with Palpatine, everything is there in that second movie. And again, and the relationship with him and Obi-Wan, which we see tragically turn on that volcanic planet when they are at odds. Like, you've gotten that all built up in the second movie. And I think Matthew made the better point there. It isn't, we're not really looking at the quality. We're looking at what is consequential. And I think there are more consequential elements in the second movie that Matthew really hit on. And I think Ryan took a little more time talking about the quality of the filmmaking. And I didn't quite as much, sold on why we needed Qui-Gon and why we needed all the stuff with Jar Jar and why we needed all of that to get us to that third movie. Whereas Matthew, I got the consequence there for him the argument. So I'm going to give that point to Matthew, and it's going to put it all on Dan here. He gets to be the almighty decider on this one and let us know who's going to win this argument.
All right, so we got Ryan. He picked episode 2, The Clone Wars. He said it never should have been made. It's horrible. It's got awful writing. But Matthew said two connects the dots that you need to have two. About his movie, no, it's the worst. The Phantom Menace, the worst. It's lost. It doesn't have a lot of story elements. It doesn't have. You don't really need to have. What's his face? Darth Maul, and Qui-Gon Jinn's character dies at the end, so he's inconsequential. There's a lot of elements of Phantom Menace that are inconsequential. And Ryan said that he thought that you needed to get rid of his movie because it's awful and all these other things that he said. But I don't want to sound like I'm just copying Jeremy, but Jeremy, you said so much that was so true. I actually believed what Matthew said. I believed the elements. You wouldn't have the story of Boba Fett, which is a key element in Empire Strikes Back and future films later on. You wouldn't have the relationship of Padme and Anakin, which create Luke and Leia, which is the crux of the whole trilogy later on down the line. And that's what, to me, those are the arguments. If you really think about it, you didn't really need Qui-Gon Jinn. You don't really need Darth Maul. Darth Maul really doesn't do anything in Phantom Menace. He's great in the Clone Wars, like he said. And those are the points that I agreed with Matthew. And Matthew really hit those points home that made sense to me that you need the Phantom Menace because it continues into Attack of the Clones, because it continues into Phantom Menace, and it makes sense. And it builds up the story between Anakin and Obi-Wan and so forth. So I actually agree with Jeremy here, and I'm going to go with Matthew.
All right, so that does give Matthew the point and puts him up 2-1 on Ryan, but obviously was very close there. I don't think we had a consensus argument on any of those three.
Not one.
So that just shows you that, both you guys came here to play today, and you made great points, both of you, and it was really close. And even on a couple of those, I could have gone the other way. It was by the narrowest of margin. So congrats to both you guys. On that main round, a fantastic performance from both, but we are going to go into the speed round now. We got to do it. And you're 2-1. And again, whoever gets 3 first wins. So if Matthew does get the first point in the speed round, he will win. If not, we will tie and we will go to the last speed round question. So let me get into the rules here, a little more of how this works. So we do have the 2 questions. The first question was speed round. Players get a 30-second opening statement followed by a 50-second rebuttal. The second speed round question, players will get a 30-second opening followed by a 20-second and a 10-second rebuttal. All right, so I will go ahead and give you what the first speed round question here is. And it is, we're going to go a little different. We were doing geeky stuff. We were doing comedies. We're going to go a little to classic Hollywood, to the old days. And the question is, who was the better Hepburn? Katharine Hepburn or Audrey Hepburn? Ooh. And the way it works is, yes, I didn't quite specify, but you yell out your answers. So since Matthew said it first, he gets Katharine Hepburn, and then Ryan is going to argue for Audrey Hepburn, who is the better classic actress. So I believe that I'm trying to remember, does the person that spoke first go? I think we'll start with Matthew. All right. So Matthew will go first. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and you'll give your argument on Audrey Hepburn over Katharine Hepburn, and you are up, and I'll start the timer when you start speaking.
The definitive actress. She was more important for a longer time. She was unbelievably important to the film Morning Glory, which she won her Academy Award for. Then she was important in African Queen, where she played a middle-aged woman. Then she was important in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, then The Lion in Winter. She has been important in countless different decades. Katharine Hepburn continued to be a successful actress no matter what was happening. Audrey Hepburn kind of fell off the rocker for a short period of time. Katharine Hepburn continuously put out solid films, and just kept on trying her best to win Academy Awards, to be a successful actress, to be in films that were important to the future of film.
That is the 30 seconds. Okay. Now we go over to Ryan to make his case for Audrey Hepburn. And if you need to take a little breather, I will wait until you start talking to start the counter for 30.
All right, with Audrey Hepburn, she did it her own way. She did it with style. She did it at Breakfast at Tiffany's. She did it in a whole bunch of other films that she starred in. She was classy. She was beautiful. She was bright. She was smart. She did it with class. Did it with style. That is something to remember when you walk out of an Audrey Hepburn movie. It's not just about the acting, but it's also about how the character looks, how they portray the character, what that style of that character is. And she did it in spades, and she brought attention to some of these films that may not have gotten the attention they were going to get if it weren't for her star power and her acting ability. That is why Audrey Hepburn is the better of the two in this case, any day of the week and twice on.
All right, that is 30 seconds. Okay, we go back over to Matthew. Again, let me double check. Is it 20?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, he gets 20 seconds. All right, so I will start the timer when you start speaking. You get 20-second rebuttal, Matthew.
The Academy had to split the Best Actress win in 1969 just so that they could make sure that Katharine Hepburn got another one. I will take the definitive spinster of the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s rather than some glorified flapper girl, only important for a short period of time. You could only bring up one of her movies. I could bring up countless Katharine Hepburn because she was more important.
All right, and then whenever you're ready, Ryan, you get the final 20 here.
All right. All right. Audrey Hepburn is a name that is synonymous with several movies that were important to the building and the continuation of the legacy of Hollywood and star power and acting ability. She is one of the biggest names you're ever going to hear in Hollywood in any film history class whatsoever.
All right.
Name kills it every time.
That is 20 seconds. Okay. All right. So here we are with this speed round question. We got to make a decision on this. And since he hasn't gone first yet, I will start with Dan. Dan, to weigh in with your choice here of who won this speed round argument.
Well, Ryan said a couple things. I was glad that he said these things because this made this argument a lot closer than it would have been. He said style. And one of the things that Audrey Hepburn is synonymous with is style. He said Breakfast at Tiffany's. That role, that movie, everybody knows her name because of Breakfast at Tiffany's. But unfortunately for Ryan, Matthew said about 5 Katharine Hepburn movies, and he brought up a very important point about the Oscar because she had won Oscars, but he brought up the one point about splitting the Oscar to give her another, which gave her her 4th Oscar. And I think because of all the things that Matthew was able to bring up for Katharine Hepburn, I'm going to have to give my point to Matthew.
All right, so it's going to go to me next, and again, it's 2. So, all right, I was definitely excited that Ryan did very much know he got Audrey Hepburn, and when it went to him, he definitely got who she was, her style, what she represents, her image. And that was awesome. I was so glad that Ryan came through with that. I knew, Matthew, he had the knowledge about Katharine Hepburn right out of the gate. So it was going to be an uphill battle for Ryan. And I think Ryan did great coming back. Matthew, he took more of the longevity argument. She was around longer. She won awards. She had, as an actress, she had the accolades and she had the respect. Ryan took more of this is an icon. This is somebody who had a style and had an image, and who this person is because of their iconic quality. And I think those are 2 very interesting and very different, representations when it comes to great stars. And I think they both hit those points. So it makes it really hard, since they came from 2 different angles on it. Which way do I want to go? I just have to say, who's the better, Audrey or Katharine? And we got a lot from Matthew. We got the impact, all of the different films that she's been in, the awards that she's won, the fact that, like Dan said, they had to split an Oscar just to give her another one. And it was a real hard thing for Ryan to come back from, when he had all that knowledge right out of the gate, and he really gave it a great effort. And again, I was impressed with him pulling out the essence of who Audrey was. But when we're talking about who is the better one, I want to hear the details. I want to hear the facts. I want to hear that backed up. And Matthew did have that. So I do have to give that one to Matthew, and it is a vote of 2 out of 3. So our winner today, unfortunately for Ryan, but it is going to be Matthew Rosa, the Minor Threat. Incredible performance from both guys, but it is going to go to Matthew because it was all on that point. Real quick, I run back to Caleb, and I still want to hear you weigh in on this one. You would have come up last on where you would have fallen on that final argument.
Yeah, I also would have given it to Matthew. I really love this question because we don't get enough of these more classic questions in these movie debates. And I love that we got that because I'm a big fan of both Hepburns, Audrey and Katharine. But I do think Matt really hit on that kind of long-lasting ability of Katharine's, because she's been working in Hollywood like since the 30s on to like the 80s with On Golden Pond. So she's just been able to, keep acting and keep, winning Oscars and all that. So I really think Matthew hit the nail on the head there. But even though Ryan was out of his element a little bit, he hit some good points on Audrey, though. So
absolutely
great speed round for both of them.
All right. Yeah, and great performances from both these guys today. I know we're going to see both of them again going forward in this league. No one has anything to feel bad about. But I'm going to go ahead and get some thoughts from our winner here today, Matthew Rosa. You're on the right side. You've got to win. You're no longer at 0. How are you feeling after a really tough battle here today?
Wow. I didn't have to go to a last question. That rarely happens to me in these debate leagues. I always ink it out by the skin of my teeth. And I actually, this is a personal fact about me, have a crazy adoration for Katharine Hepburn. So the second this question was asked, I knew exactly who I wanted, and I was ready to start railing out facts. So this was felt really cool. It felt very Slumdog Millionaire. I had a personal connection to this. Let's go and let's win this match, and I did. So I guess I gotta come back.
All right. Is there anyone in this league in particular you'd like to face, or any agendas or vendettas you have?
Whoever the heck the schedule decides to put me at, so that I can get closer to playing Cody.
Ooh, he wants Cody. That's his goal. He's not looking for gold. He's looking for Cody Newberry. I like it. Although, you have to beat him to get the gold. So that makes sense. All right. So I'm really sorry, Ryan. You really gave it a great shot today. I thought you were so close, like getting some of those arguments. And, this is not a reflection on your debating ability at all. It just, it's just the way that it went. How are you feeling after a painful defeat here today?
Yeah, it's no fun when you lose. Doesn't matter if it's movie trivia, movie debate. It's no fun. Really isn't. But hey, my hat's off to Matthew. He's barely 18. He knows more about Katharine Hepburn than I ever will. Someone's been reading their classic movie history textbooks. I don't know where you got them, but congrats, kid. You maybe found them on Amazon somewhere. But gee willikers, no, this was good. There was definitely some good questions here. They're definitely worthy of debate. But yeah, speed round kills me, or at least this particular match, this particular speed round did kill me because I don't know if Audrey was in Roman Holiday or not. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. She was okay.
You should have said Roman Holiday. You should have been.
Man, I wasn't sure if it was her or somebody else because I saw it in theaters on a big screen a couple of years ago. Why didn't I bring up Roman Holiday with Gregory Peck?
If you could have pulled out that she won an Oscar for Roman Holiday, it would have
helped. Oh, okay. All right. Roman Holiday. I did like that movie. You just came back to haunt me. Thanks a lot, Roman Holiday. Maybe I should take off and take a holiday somewhere. But anyway, no, this was fun. Congrats to Matt. I'm 0-2 now, so I'm probably not going to get a match for like 6 months, maybe a year and a half. I don't know. Depends on what the powers that be have in store for the hunter. But other than that, good panel. Thanks for being here, guys. You guys were really good. This was a lot of fun. I definitely need to watch more Audrey Hepburn and Katharine Hepburn movies because it's funny because I just watched for the first time Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and it was a fantastically well-acted movie by everyone involved, including Katharine Hepburn, So good stuff on that one. Look forward to watching more Hollywood classic movies in the future because I enjoy watching those. But thanks for having me. If I come back, I come back. If I don't, I don't because I feel more comfortable in a movie trivia competition more so than a movie debate. I don't know if you know that about me or not. You may have seen it on the interweb somewhere. But this was fun. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Again, great job, Brian. I know we're going to see it back at some point, and I just want to give you my personal recommendations: The Lion in Winter and Charade. Those are two great movies. All right. So let's go to let's get final thoughts from our judges here today. Caleb, how was it? How did it feel judging there today, and what did you think of this match overall?
Yeah, this was a really tough fight. Both of them were hitting really good points back and forth at each other. And I think that goes to show you why we were always kind of split on our arguments until that Katharine Hepburn one, because it was both these fighters were giving really good arguments here. But it was a really fun, really entertaining fight. Very happy to be a part of it. And if I can give my recommendation, Bringing Up Baby for Katharine Hepburn and Wait Until Dark for Audrey.
Wait Until Dark would have been my next one. Great pick.
Yeah, Wait Until Dark's so good.
Yeah. All right, and Dan, it was your third time. It was actually my third time judging too. How did you feel on that one?
I'll tell you what. I thought Ryan really came out of the gates great with the first two arguments. I thought he really hit home the points that he needed to make those arguments. But I have to give a lot of credit to Matthew. He was the comeback kid in this one. He came back, and even though I thought Ryan was just going to kind of steamroll him there, he started coming back, and he did come back, and he came back and won. So you got to give a lot of credit to Matthew for sticking with it and knowing that he was making good arguments in these, and he had wanted to try to get some points, and he finally did get some points, and he got enough points to where he won. And so I give a lot of credit to Matthew. But I know Ryan from past matches, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's a good BS artist. He is going to win one of these. If he gets another chance at this, he will win one of these. He's just too good at this not to win eventually. I just think he just lucked out with Matthew grabbing Katharine Hepburn instead of Audrey Hepburn.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely see a win in Ryan's future. All right, so that will bring us to the end for today, and we're going to wrap things up by finding out where we can find everybody with plugs. I will start with our winner, Matthew. Where can we find you on the internet?
You can find my band On the Tip of Your Tongue at pretty much every social media platform at On the Tip of Your Tongue. You can find us on Twitter at OTOIT Music, and you can find us right here on YouTube at On the Tip of Your Tongue. You can find our single Cheers coming out March 15th of this year of our Lord 2019. And you can find us on the Please Pay for Our College tour very soon, as when all the days are booked, we will let you guys know. You can find me as the head question writer over on Jukebox Trivia over on Take 3 Productions. And apparently I still have my panelist role as on Late Night with Take 3, so I'm supposed to promote that even though I haven't been on in like 4 months.
All right. Excellent stuff there. And Ryan, where can we find you, my friend?
I'll be the good sportsman here. Congratulations to Matt. He earned it. He did very well. And on my side of the fence, I'm going to watch more classic Hollywood movies that star Audrey Hepburn and Katharine Hepburn. Way to go, Hepburn sisters, or Hepburn family. Anyway, you can find me on
Not
Facebook.
Related.
Not related.
Not
Sorry.
related at all.
See, there you go. I know nothing about Hollywood classics. I know nothing. I know
Different
absolutely
spelling,
nothing.
too.
Terrible. I'm terrible. Anyway, when I'm being incorrect on half the things that come out of my mouth, you can find me on Facebook at Ryan Permison _ Aspiring Movie Critic. I know my movie reviews there. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5, and make sure you check out our YouTube channel at Nerd Culture on YouTube. We got videos up right now. We got brand new ones coming your way very soon. Anything nerd related we talk about, it's going to be there. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at It's Nerd Culture. You can find me competing in the various fan movie trivia leagues in and around the interwebs, and definitely doing more research and more binge watching of classic Hollywood movies. Thank you, sir.
Excellent. And Caleb, where can we find you?
Oh yeah, you can find me at my YouTube channel, Caleb Boatman. I haven't posted there in a while, but I'm wanting to get back into doing that. Find me on Letterboxd, Caleb Boatman. Yeah, you can find me playing trivia over at Multiplex and at Full Metal. Playing in the classics division. So yeah, just check me out there. Yeah, this was fun.
Excellent. And Dan, my friend, where can we find you?
You can always find me at Dan Skip Allen on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest, or at From the Fourth Row at WordPress.com, where I write about movies, or for a website that I work for called Cinesportstalk.com. That's Cinesportalk.com, where I write about sports and movies.
Excellent. Okay. And you can find me at Jeremy Paul Adams on both Facebook and YouTube. And of course, here on the Full Metal channel that Movie Battleground is a part of, I'm one of the league runners running all of the trivia matches. We've got Full Metal Singles, Full Metal Teams, Full Metal Classic, and then there is Full Metal Random, which is a show that I run personally, which is really cool, and then Full Metal Geek, which we're involved with, and of course Battleground. Just check out the channel, see all the cool content there, all the trivia matches, and if you want to play in both trivia and in debating, we always want new people, so just get on the Facebook page and let us know, and we'll find a place for you. And if you just want to watch the stuff and check it out, that's awesome too. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this video today. And I am Jeremy the Atom Adams for everyone here taking us out, saying